very enthusiastic, very jolly, and very generous with his information. He's always got something new that's always exciting about where we're going to go around.
You have to say good looking, yeah.
Oh, yes.
There goes the surprise. And tonight, you wouldn't believe what we're going to do with that. But many of these paintings I've done with you all tonight are done with it. For instance, most obviously, possibly this one, you can see the background of the bigger paintings. Especially on a bigger canvas, it's much more difficult on a smaller canvas. I wouldn't normally go to one smaller than that, using the sponge roller. The sponge roller in the background, and then I work up on top with the brushes. Same with that one, it was done with the sponge roller at first and then finished with the brushes. My technique of painting now is to start loose and to finish tight. You can't start tight and finish loose, not really. So if you start loose and finish tight, and I have my own method, as many of us do after you get grey, that I tend to teach, and that is my jigsaw method. And if we put the right colours in the right places, in the right shapes, relevant one to another, like putting the pieces of a jigsaw together, the painting will just appear. So that one now, yes. So we've got a nice full set of paints, and they're solid, heavy body paints, as you can see. Still going to be careful in the car because they're on a wet surface. So if I slope them in the car, or if the car's juddering a lot, they can start to go into one big. But it's quite a mess when you get to a demonstration. You find they've done that, and you've got to find your colours amongst them and dig them out. My palette is a baking tray in this case because I can get the roller in. Right, let's start off with the background. Normally, unless it's a sunset or a sunrise, it's cooler in the distance than it is in the foreground. Sunrise and sunset, the other way around, isn't it? Warm the background from the foreground. This is where we're going to use our colour hues. So my colour hues here are the bluer greens and bluer greys. Simplest way to make grey, I'm talking about blue and brown. Blue and brown. My head went to WordPress, isn't it? And I don't like using pure black until the very end, if I use it at all. I tend to use it in some of these paintings because it pushes those colours, the vibrancy, to that one stage further. And I use it really as a colour, and never use it for mixing because it just makes a muck. Unless I'm doing a limited palette like Rembrandt, or I'm doing, there's a reason for it. But normally I mix my darks with Prussian blue and brown. So colour hues in the background. Not going to put these light colours in first, I'm going to go for this blue-grey. I've got so many colours here I can play with, so I can mix my greens with the blue and the yellow, or I can just go straight to a green. I haven't got much time tonight, so let's get getting on. Let's take some emerald straight away, and a wee touch of cerulean into that, just to give me a blue-grey in the background. And I want to go, and I'm going to, that's my first colour. That's giving me a colour. Oh, it's a bit too strong yet. I've got to go softer yet, a bit of turquoise and a wee bit of pink. Not too much water. Too little water and the sponge won't take it up, but too much it's just going to clog and go everywhere. I want to go a little bit pink because I've got two colours there I can use right the way through already. I'm not going to waste this paint. As I go along mixing, I can mix more. The first time I put it on the roller, it's going to take more. Now when I put the roller into this, I'm going to put that in the bottom of the palette like that and roll my roller through it both ways like that to get it out of the sponge. So if we had the other camera on, I'd show you. But put the roller through this, and this is quite wet because I've dampened the roller a little bit to start with, otherwise it wouldn't take the paint. Let's have a look at some of these colours back here straight away. I'm working very quickly. I know I'm just like where things are. You see, I can work in between shapes. I can leave a little bit of white showing just so I know where things are. There's this blue-grey light colour going on in the background, just through up here. Nice and loosely, enjoy, be gestural, enjoy your mediums. So a little bit greener, bluer, greener now coming up into there. There's got to be some yellow through here in a minute as well, through behind that tree. Right colours, right shapes, right places, and it'll all come together. So I'm going to work my warms, my cools, medium tones through to darker, my warms and my cools together, gradually building this up. But you see the glazing effect I can get too. If I want to go back over here and I want to glaze a bit, I can just bring one colour over another thinly and let the colour underneath show through. You wouldn't have thought that straight away. You know, you think, oh, we have to do it with a dry brush, or let's carry on there. A bit more pink going on now, I think. And I can also still see my drawing through it. It's transparent enough at the moment as I build it up, I can still see my drawing. It might only seem subtle to you, the differences in colour I'm making here, but I can see the differences and I know where I am. And I want to lose this white canvas. I don't know how. Okay, should just manage to get the basics. I don't like painting in artificial light either, because I know that tomorrow I'm going to have to repaint this. I did 2 last night, 2 smaller ones ready for the expo, and I've had to repaint them this morning because in daylight they're totally different again. Let the colours come one into another. How often do you see amateurs doing this, where they put the green tree, the blue sky, the white clouds, every colour comes into itself, and green can be all pervading, blue light can be all pervading. According to the Impressionists, there cannot be black or white, because if you've got light there must be colour. So black would be reflecting a colour, can't really exist as black, and white would be reflecting a colour, so there shouldn't be ever pure white, not really. When you're using a roller or you're using a brush, try and make the marks about the thing you're painting. If you do a drawing and you just put a tram line around it, it is possible to, Matisse did, it will flatten it. You need the edge of a line drawn about the edge. So if it's a broken piece of shell, you have a broken line. Then with the brushes, if you're painting leaves, then make your marks about the brushes. And my marks here, you might not realise it there, but they're gestural, they're very much about these leaves and plants that I'm doing. Okay, I want to start getting some of these darker colours in next. A bit more of that mauve purple just down. Still mixing straight into the colour I've just had. I'm not to worry too much. I will have to if I go much darker, but just at the moment I'll get away with magenta with a bit of cerulean again. Now I'm going to go dark now. Medium dark. I'll make a very deep warm green at first. Start to look at some of these background golds before I do the darks. I think I'd like to get some of these golds in, which means I've got to go a little bit lighter. Some of these are a different part of the palette. I'm still not going to clean up. I'm going to put some yellow ochre. All the stones have got to be painted in yet. Don't worry about that. Let's get rid of this white canvas at the moment. If it's coming up into anywhere else, make sure we do that so that it links. A little bit of purple, because I've got plenty there, I want to use it up. And a bit of brown to really make it warmer. So if you want a very warm black or warm dark, you can put your Prussian blue and your more brown or more blue to make it a cooler dark. You've got a choice there, rather than being stuck with a black. I've really got to get that nice and dark. So I'm going to have to get my roller well into that. And that will seem the darkest thing, which it will be at the moment, which allows me later to make it darker still if I wish to, by adding some black or another deeper colour. A little bit wetter because I need the edge of the roller to flow a bit more. The rollers last quite a long time, but when they do go, chuck them, and they're $1.50 a piece, by the way, if you want one tonight. If they do go, then you've got to get rid of and get another one if the edges, they'll do need a lot of painting before I get to that stage. That's a bit warmer look. And I can just start to paint in the effects of these trees behind by rolling it right up to the top there. Now you see it just starts to appear, doesn't it? There's not many people painting like this. I noticed somebody was showing a film from America recently. It's amazing just what sort of thin line you can do with a roller. But I don't think there's many. I tried to get the SAA to supply rollers, but they wouldn't, so I've got another firm that does them reasonably. They did do a very small one originally. It was only just about right for watercolour. It wouldn't really do a lot. Now a bit more brown. I want it warm as it comes to the foreground. Even a wee touch of alizarin crimson. Let's really get this deep warmth going here. And change this dark as this is. And after this is when I've got to. If I want lighter colours, which I'm going to do, I'm going to need to wash the roller, but at the moment it's a bit warmer. Look how that jumps forward compared to that. And again, I want that warmth going on in here as well, so I'm going to bring some of that back into there. So even if you just use it for underpainting, it's useful, isn't it? A bit more warmth into there. Right up and through here. I'll bring my leaves back through there in a minute. And I've almost got my canvas covered, which is great because then I can concentrate on turquoise, which, as you see in many of my paintings, is one of my favourite colours. I can't resist it. I just love turquoise. And in watercolour, it's a lovely colour as well. And just make it into a blue-grey again. A little bit darker for some of these areas over here. If you have a cup of tea, I will keep painting because to get this done in time. But by all means, even if I am still painting, you come and have a chat. Don't you worry about that. So now I'm left with all of these lovely light colours, and that's when things suddenly happen. It's like painting something like that. The hard work is at the beginning, just covering the canvas. When you come to the end, you've got all those lovely highlights. I just want to show you, before we get to the break, just how gorgeous the lights will be. I've got to find a nice clean area as well. Do dry your sponge out a little before you start. I wanted it, because otherwise it's going to be too wet. Right, lightest colours then, working my way up. So starting from the mid-greens, so I want a sort of a mid-emerald, I suppose, fairly warm green. So I'll take some emerald, pure at the moment, and a little bit of cadmium yellow. Yellows, do you find that in acrylics are murder, aren't they? I did a sunflower picture in France and had to go over it afterwards with oils to get the yellows. And the flower painting I did with another art group a couple of weeks ago, they wanted to do still life of flowers. And all the warm flowers that we were using, again, it was very hard to get it with the acrylics. These new heavy bodies that I've just ordered might do it, so I'm hoping. So now I'm going to start working forward. And a lot of these areas that were just the canvas showing through are now going to suddenly disappear as I bring the lights and the yellows into it. So I know I'm going to go and finish this off at home and do more with it, but at the moment, just to give you an idea. So help yourself, come and have a chat if you want. I'm just going to continue through, otherwise I won't get enough done. So come and take a card if you want, and got a napkin if you want.
So these are all goldens that you're using?
No, these are just cheapies. No, the goldens, yeah. These are some of the old System 3 heavy bodies. You can't get them.
All right.
This is why I dip my brush in my coffee.
We've all done that, haven't we?
I've done that.
It's not so bad, so it's obviously it's bad.
It's when you dip it in your glass of wine, isn't it?
Let's make sure you put,
Right, I'm going on to a brush now.
Yes, yes.
And I have to start moving down brush sizes.
Isn't it? Hannah's doing this. Because we were just saying, if you stop
Well, that's it, you know. Just as I'm saying, you can, this way of painting, all of these ways that I do here, you stop when you're ready. You're the one in control. Yeah. And this is what I've had watercolours coming to me. Hold on for a minute. So now I can start to paint slabs of paint. Brush marks that are about what I'm painting. If I want to paint leaves, I'm going to take a brush that's the shape of a leaf. If I want to paint a square window in watercolour, I'll take a square brush. 1, 2, 3, 4, instant window. You can't paint a square hole with a round brush, you know.
Logical, isn't it?
I could do this with a knife now. Have some fun with a knife. I'm just going to use a brush. Look for colours, especially in a photograph. Photographs bleach out things, don't they? So I'm deliberately pushing colours. A little bit stronger, because I know the photograph will have bleached out a bit. So I've got my darks in, I've got my medium tones in, I'm working up my lights, but now I want to push the warms and cools a bit more. Take a little bit of cadmium orange and just show you what can be done. Let's really bring out some of these bits of sunlight. Just a couple of points of it, and you'll be amazed what it will do. Because one colour can make all the difference. Sometimes in your paintings, when you think you've got something wrong, it's not the thing you think is wrong, it's the thing next to it. And this is what I meant about using complementary colours and so on. I was painting a painting of Bridlington Harbour to be early in the morning, and I kept plastering on more and more and more warms. I just couldn't get it right. And I realised, what am I doing, idiot? You're not thinking. Plaster on the cools to make the warms seem. So you've got opposites, lights, darks, warms, cools, rough, smooths. And if I go warmer than that still, so I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna now. I'm still not going as warm as I could. I could use cadmium red. A bit more warmth into it, a little bit of burnt sienna, neat at the moment. Going into here just to feel the warmth of these bits of sunlight against this. Even if I didn't get any further, you've got the idea, haven't you now? And that's what I'm here for, is to enthuse you, is to give you new, exciting ideas to paint with. Just to give you ideas.
The years, or
I've used all sorts of different styles, so you know, it's what I want to paint. This is the way I wanted to go. It's looser and more contemporary, and pushing these colours, trying to paint with pure colour, trying to really get it to vibrate. Now, people were talking about figures and how difficult they are. Let's just have a look at these figures. I'm just going to take a little 1/4 inch, not a very tiny brush. Let's not worry about them being figures. Let's just put the right colours in the right places and the right shapes, and hopefully our figures are going to just appear. Find the right colour, that one will do for now. So we know that they're about here, it's going to be a focal point. They're coming just above the horizon, so all I've got to do is a couple of marks. Now that's a warm. And I want to go a little bit warmer still for the legs. Just indicating them, that's all I want. It's the position that's as important. If you're doing figures, you've got to get, you know, if you're going to make almost a cartoon of them, you need to find the way a shoulder comes at the slants. No, might as well get the rest of it while I'm at it. And I can come backwards and forwards with this as I want, so at any time I can come back into this painting with the darks. Right, whenever I want, I can come back with my darks. So I can take a brush whenever I want and do a bit more texturing into these darks. Just feeling around the shapes, keep it loose. I'm not going to try and paint exact rocks. I'm not here to paint exact rocks, just to get an impression of it tonight. Fun, isn't it? I mean, I'm quite happy painting, just painting, so, you know, to be paid for it, it's just a byproduct, really, isn't it? But that's the difference in the life of a professional. However I feel, however ill I am, I've still got to do it. It's not just when I fancy it. If I'm booked for a class, I've got to be there. So it isn't just fun. luckily most of my life it is, and I'm pick and choose now, being retired. Marks that are about the objects I'm painting, so we're starting to get a few slightly squiggly, snaky marks in down here as the water ripples. And we get one colour coming into another, so I've got the darks coming into there. I take some of that green and bring the light back into that green. It often happens with water, we get one colour coming into another. It works both ways of it. Okay? Especially at edges, ripples tend to come one into another. Used to be much darker down there. Not going to use a roller again, but I'm going to use a big brush. And I want to be a bit warmer there. Too much canvas, I hate canvas showing. Nasty. I like to get it totally covered, which a roller doesn't always do. You've got to push in to get that done often. So here I need to go much warmer, as well as thicker paint. The other thing about filberts, the beauty of them is that you can use them either flat or sideways. So if I want to start to get some ripples here, I can put a nice big old log in there, but I can also use it afterwards to flick out, I think enough water going, to flick out into there and get the feeling of ripples coming out into the edge.
Do you ever put a base coat over the whole canvas before you
Oh yeah, I mean I was saying that the next demo I'm doing has got a very deep purple on it, and I'm going to let that glow through. And also, not so much what I'm doing with the sponge roller, but more with the brushwork. I might have a bright red for a landscape, or even a magenta or something, you know. It's quite fun to have these different things in the background, yeah. So you're absolutely right, yeah, I would. This time though, because I just wanted to, you know, to show you the basics of it, I'm just going to work it all up from... But yes, quite often I will, especially with a dark scene, if I'm painting woodland, and this scene is where I live in France. This is just 10 minutes down the hill. I've got the confluence of the two cruises, beautiful. And it's just lovely like this, it's what it is. I'm constantly comparing warms and cools, lights and darks. It's always going on in my... Never sticking in one place, looking all over those different colours. I want to show you what happens when we do put black on in a minute. So see, I can go back with my darks anytime I like, put them in. A bit of black, just to show you how it will just, the odd touch can just bring things out. I don't want to use too much. I'm just going to put a few little touches of black in, just to show you how bright the other colours are when I do that. Look how that brings that forward. The black is a very warm, and it will bring out, I just want a few little touches of black, and not much, it's just to show you. In the foreground I can just use a little bit of this, just to give it a little added bit of depth here and there. See how those darks under there make the purples now seem purple. It's a constant play. Monet had a 5-foot cane, tied his brush to the end and stood back. And I'm doing that here. It's a fencing match. It's a constant play between standing back, seeing how these broken colour effects will work. Acrylics sink a bit, as you're noticing, so I'm having to go back over. That's the thing with the heavy bodies, and also with oils, that if you're using oils, you can come back into this and work up these colours and they will stay there. Do I need to do much more? It's enough tonight, isn't it? I want to work it in daylight now, but you've got the idea of it.
How do you know when you've finished?
I think you just do. I mean, I want to look at it, or I'll go back on it. There are a few little darks and lights here and there I'd like to play with, like through here, textures. But I won't really know until tomorrow when I see it in daylight. And there's all these little bits of colour, texture here, this cascading, this effect of light, this cascading of light that's going on in here that I haven't got yet. I need to find little bits of leaf like this that are happening down to here. Light against dark, warm against cool. That branch, for instance, I'd like to do a bit more with that. get a smaller brush and just come in and pick this branch out. There are little things like this that can help make the painting look. Just that line through there can help make the painting. Something so small. That's what I will stand and look at and think. But yeah, it's 3/4 there. Okay?
Really, and the freedom of it, I just love
That's what we want, all of these paintings loose.
Mm.
Yes, by all means, if you want to take shots of any of these paintings, please do. Enjoy yourself. Well, here's the painting I've just been doing for the demo. And of course, as I expected, totally different in daylight. It hasn't covered as well, and you can see things much more clearly. It's much cruder in this state. So I'm going to have to work into it a lot more. So yes, I've got to work a lot more texture into it, and I need to also work some details up a bit more as well now. Well, I'm getting there. I'm going to go in with a slightly larger brush, I think, and just try and find some of these bigger, brighter, stronger leaves, if I can get them to work with thicker paint. Let's really try and get some lovely, strong chrome yellow going in there now. Lovely colours coming out here. These greens and acid greens and warm yellow leaves against it. Some quite gentle colours as a background, and takes a bit of working out. It's lovely colours. I've got to go a bit darker on, warmer on some of them too. These little touches that can make such a big difference. So we keep this building up and building up, trying to get this beautiful effect of light that's in amongst these leaves. Right, I think I need to go back to the darker green to become lighter. Let's get these lovely warm brown greens now that I need. Almost becomes three-dimensional. These lovely turquoises and warm browns going on. Sorry, warm greens going on here. And what's this? Against the light here. Great big leaves coming through. I think I'm well on the way with that. Let's have a look and see what other darks we have to do on these leaves. Perhaps a little more here and there, but not an awful lot, I don't think. I want to know whether some of these will be maybe deeper greens. Got to keep adjusting colours down here as well. Amazing always to me how just a few marks can make such a difference. You're missing in the photograph but looking properly. You don't see wood for trees sometimes. Right, just need a little more yellow green somehow here, not quite got it. quite got it yet. Let's try that. Take a small brush and just tidy it up with a wee bit of dark just around the edges of the leaves. Better, frames it in better. Now, same around here, I suspect it's a little bit more dark. Just coming around the edges here to bring this frame in. Maybe a touch of very light blue for the rocks in the sky. So we'll take some white and a little tiny touch of cerulean. Just touch the tops of some of these rocks. And that, I think, is it. We have done. Talking about that light blue, it wants to come down between the branches just a little bit down here as well. Full of light and life. We're after. Full of light and life. It's pushed it beyond the quick demonstration last night, hasn't it?